What's good, YouTubers and YouTubettes? This is JBsports back again with another one. Wow. This just came down to shoot this morning. I actually knew about this before I did my first video when I broke down the Anthony Joshua versus Francis Ngannou. I started to just jump ahead and do it on the first video, man, but I wanted to get that in because I had been trying to put that in for the last couple of days, just had forgot, so I just wanted to break that fight down. But look here, we got a mega fight in the sport of boxing. Some people gonna call it a circus, some people gonna clown the fight, but bottom line is this will be the highest grossing fight of 2024, featuring Hall of Fame fighter, former undisputed heavyweight champion. At the time he was reigning supreme, he was the baddest man on the planet. A guy that struck fear in the majority of his opponents. Mike Tyson will be taking on a guy that used to be on the Disney Channel for 2 seasons. A guy that has made a believer out of me, man. I thought he was actually, I didn't take him serious, let me just say that. When he first came onto the scene of the sport of boxing, he was taking on Nate Robinson and fighting guys that were retired UFC fighters, retired MMA fighters. He was knocking those guys out, but here recently he's been fighting boxers and has been looking spectacular, has shown improvement since changing trainers. A guy that has a record of 9 wins, 1 loss. A guy that's coming off of back-to-back first-round knockouts. Jake Paul. This fight will take place at AT&T Stadium, home of the Dallas Cowboys. And the fight will take place on Netflix. This fight, again, will be the highest grossing fight of 2024. Make no mistake about it. People gonna clown this fight. People gonna shit on this fight. People gonna say, oh man, boxing is becoming a circus. Bottom line is, the reason why these fights happen and the reason why these fights do well is because we are not getting, in a lot of cases, the fights that we want to see. You know, it took us years to get Spence versus Crawford. We never got Riddick Bowe versus Lennox Lewis. We never got Felix Trinidad versus Sugar Shane Mosley. We never got James Toney versus Bernard Hopkins. You know what I'm saying? We didn't even get Mike Tyson versus Riddick Bowe. You know what I'm saying? We waiting on Tank Davis versus Devin Haney. We waiting on Tank Davis versus Shakur Stevenson. Hopefully those fights will come to fruition in the coming years. But right now, man, don't look like those fights are any closer to happening today than they were last year and the year before last. And that's a damn shame. That's what's hurting the sport of boxing, man. So that's why these fights like Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul. We had Mike Tyson taking on Roy Jones Jr. When that fight took place about 1.5 years ago or 2 years, that fight did what? I know it did over 1 million pay-per-view buys. It did a little over 1 million pay-per-view buys if my memory is correct. And this fight, if it was on pay-per-view, it's not going to be on pay-per-view. It's a non-pay-per-view fight. It's going to be on Netflix. But just say this fight was on pay-per-view. It would do 2 million pay-per-view buys, and that's with illegal stream. That's what people have Fire Sticks watching a lot of these fights that you got to pay for. People getting it through illegal streaming in a lot of cases. Yeah, I said it. I'm on the video saying it. I'm putting, you know, I ain't saying who doing. I'm just saying it's getting done. And that's the reason why a lot of these fights have failed to crack 1 million pay-per-view buys. The biggest fight of 2023 was Tank Davis versus Ryan Garcia. That fight did, according to reports, 1.2 million pay-per-view buys, or as high as 1.5 million pay-per-view buys. That was the biggest fight of 2023. But the cash cow boxing, the face of boxing, Canelo Alvarez, his best pay-per-view number of 2023 was 650,000 pay-per-view buys versus Jermell Charlo in a fight that was a fight involving 2 undisputed champions. And according to the PBC, that fight lost money because of the high guarantee they had to pay Canelo Alvarez, which was $35 million, and what they had to pay Jermell Charlo, which was slightly under $5 million. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. Now, Mike Tyson in his last fight against Roy Jones Jr. looked good, man, to me. Looked good, man. Was a ferocious body puncher in that fight. He was connected on a high percentage of his body shots, and if he would have started really going to the head shots, I think he would have stopped Roy Jones Jr. But that was an exhibition fight, so I think Mike Tyson decided not to headhunt. If he would have decided to headhunt, I think he would have stopped Roy Jones Jr. And Roy Jones Jr. was a guy at that time who had several fights going into the Mike Tyson fight, whether it be fights involving him taking on guys trying to use his name, fights not considered on the level of when he was in his prime, whatever the case may be. He was a guy that had fights leading up to that fight. Mike Tyson hadn't fought in years. He looked very spectacular against Roy Jones Jr. And like I said, in my opinion, would have stopped Roy Jones Jr. if he decided to throw shots to the head. But he did look good. Now, it has not been revealed if this fight will be an exhibition fight or a real fight, but according to Jake Paul, this is going to be a real fight. Both guys' record will be on the line, as Jake Paul has a high knockout percentage. His only loss was a split decision loss to Tyson Fury's young brother, Tommy Fury. Mike Tyson, again, hasn't fought in about 1.5 to 2 years when he took on Roy Jones Jr. So it's going to be an interesting fight. Mike Tyson has power, as he showed in his last fight versus Roy Jones Jr. He hurt Roy Jones on multiple occasions to the body, had Roy Jones Jr. holding on for dear life. And again, if he went to the head, I believe he would have knocked out Roy Jones Jr. So Mike Tyson has shown to still have that power. One of the most vicious knockout artists in recent memory or in boxing history. That guy goes by the name of Iron Mike Tyson. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. This is a great and exciting time for the sport of boxing. A lot of people are going to shit on this fight. A lot of people are going to hate on this fight, but it's going to be a fight that a whole lot of people are going to be watching. A lot of the casual boxing fans will be attending this fight and tuning in to this fight, as you'll see a lot of athletes at this fight. You'll see a lot of movie stars at this fight. You'll see a lot of comedians at this fight. You're going to see people of every genre that are famous that will be attendance of this fight. This fight will take place at AT&T Stadium, home of the Dallas Cowboys. The owner of the Cowboys, Jerry Jones, obviously okayed this fight. He sees that this is a money maker. This is a fight that he's damn sure is willing to put on and host, because he knew it's going to line his pockets up along with everybody that are involved in this event. They're going to make money on this fight. And again, this fight will be the highest grossing fight of 2024. You know, you can talk about all these big fights that people want to see not happening, that actually happens in 2024. Canelo Alvarez versus David Benavidez. Again, Tank Davis versus Devin Haney. You know, or Terrence Crawford versus Canelo Alvarez. All those fights will not do the numbers that this fight would do, and the fight will take place on July 20th. And that's another smart move by Jake Paul and Mike Tyson, putting this fight on in the summer and putting this fight on before the NFL season, before the NFL preseason, which takes place in August. That's a smart move by Jake and Mike, putting this fight on. It'll be going on in the heart of summer, where the only thing that be going on at that time will be Major League Baseball. So that was a smart move, putting this event on July the 20th. And it will do great numbers, in my opinion. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. Now, my early prognostication on this fight is Jake Paul is much improved. Jake Paul must use the jab. Jake Paul must control distance, because once Mike Tyson gets close and start laying those shots, he's going to do damage to Jake Paul. Jake Paul has not been in with a power puncher of the caliber of Mike Tyson, even at this advanced age. As Mike Tyson ought to be going close to, he ought to be somewhere between 55 and 60 years old. I think he's in his late 50s. But again, in his last fight, man, and you look at some of his videos where he was hitting on the bag, he looked very explosive. He looked like the whole Mike Tyson. I ain't seen no slowdown. But I think the problem with Mike Tyson is he's going to have to get Jake Paul out of there early. As the fight goes on, I think Mike Tyson's going to lose some of his steam, man. The man damn near 60 years old. And I think Jake Paul, best bet is to weather the storm early and take control of the fight late and win the fight by decision. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. Maybe win the fight by late stoppage, man, because Jake Paul got power in his own right. Jake Paul has been fighting at around about the cruiserweight limit, around about 183. That's been most of his fights in that 180 plus range. Mike Tyson is a career heavyweight. He'll probably be coming in this fight at around about, I would imagine, somewhere around 215 or 225. He'll get himself in great shape. Don't know who his trainer is going to be. I know a lot of people will be wanting to train him for this fight. I know he's had many trainers throughout his career. Freddie Roach has trained him before. I know Ronnie Shields trained him. He was trained by a lot of great trainers. Kevin Rooney, the late Cus D'Amato trained him. So it'll be interesting to see who he has as his trainer for this fight with Jake Paul. A lot of trainers, in my opinion, will be raising their hands, lining up to train Mike Tyson for this mega event. It's going to be a spectacle. It's going to be must-see TV, in my opinion. You'll have a lot of haters coming out there hating on the fight. But a lot of these guys don't know how boxing works as far as attention. What fights get attention, what fights are for the hardcore boxing fans. This fight is for the casual boxing fans. This fight is for the people that follow Jake Paul on the Disney Channel. This fight is for people that don't normally follow boxing. They'll be tuning in for this fight, and that's going to lead to this fight doing great numbers, in my opinion. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. But as far as the early analysts of this fight is, I think Mike Tyson's best bet to win this fight is to get Jake Paul out there early, inside the first 5 rounds. This fight will be a 10-round fight, so I think he's gonna have to get him out of there in the first 5 rounds. Maybe it might be an 8-round fight. They haven't announced how many rounds this fight will go. I think it'll probably be a fight scheduled for either 8 or 10 rounds. But if I just say it's gonna go 10 rounds, and I think Mike Tyson's gonna definitely have to get him out of there in the first 5 rounds. That's where he'll be his most dangerous and most effective and most explosive. You get to round 6, if the fight is still going on, I think that'll play into the favor of Jake Paul, who is the younger fighter, who's a guy that's the fresher fighter, a guy that will be able to hit Mike Tyson with combinations, stay on the outside and outpoint Mike Tyson. Because Mike Tyson, even in his heyday, was a guy that was a 4-round fighter, was more explosive inside 4 rounds than he was after 4 rounds. Look at what Holyfield did to him. He was able to get him to go the distance. Not go to distance, but go late in the fight and stop him. And look at Lance Lewis was able to get past the first 4 rounds and ultimately stop Mike Tyson toward the mid-late portion of their fight. So the blueprint is out on Mike Tyson, man. You got to weather the storm early. He's very lethal. He's very dangerous in the first 4 rounds. But if you're able to get him past 4 rounds, that plays into your favor. And I think Jake Paul and his team will be looking to do that in the fight July the 20th. So I'm going to give you my official prediction on the fight in the week leading up to the fight, but that's just my early synopsis on this particular matchup. Let me know your thoughts on the comment section. Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul, July the 20th, AT&T Stadium, Arlington, Texas, home of the Dallas Cowboys on Netflix. Let me know your thoughts and follow me on Facebook, Gerard Briscoe. Like, share, and subscribe to JB Sports, the man, the myth, the legend. And I holla.